Hello everybody, my name is Ilya.
And my name is Tyler. Together we make up Kovray, a couple that loves to play board games.
How about bringing down evil corporations?
Heck yeah, we do. I mean, we don't do it in real life, but
We might.
I don't. Burncycle! Holy moly!
Oh no!
It's upside down.
Upside down. It's a sponsored how to play video for Burncycle, a new game from Chip Theory Games. Shall we head over to the table?
We should. We'll tell you everything you need to know about Burncycle.
It is the year 3000 and you're taking on the role of robots. The reality here is that CEOs of some of the biggest corporations have seized power and have taken advantage of you, committing a code wipe which stripped you from freely performing higher functions. This gave CEO tools to project code and force you to perform certain kinds of actions, restricting your free will and espionage against the corporations. The program code makes it tricky to rebel, but luckily the 404th, your resistance group, has found a way. The creation of the Burncycle has allowed you to take actions complying with the code sequences, while being able to fulfill your rebellious agenda of breaking into the corporation's headquarters and wreaking havoc.
In Burncycle, you'll be working cooperatively to complete your mission. Sometimes this will look like going through multiple floors, outsmarting guards, and working together to complete your objectives. This will help you in strengthening your liberation for the robots. So let's start by setting up. You'll first get all your components and mats ready. You'll lay out the floor mat, making sure that the side up has icons on it. You'll place the network and the command module next to the board like this. You'll then prepare the card tray, making sure you shuffle all the unique card types into their appropriate decks and placing them so that they're in easy access to all players. Next, you can form your dice trays. One dice tray will contain all of your action dice, the ones that you'll use every turn. And the other one will contain all the other dice that come from abilities, equipment, and other things that happen in the game. Next, you'll prepare the chip trays like shown here. And then you'll randomly draw a captain token. Find the corresponding card for that captain token and place it into the card tray. You're now ready to select the corporation and mission that you'll undertake as a team. In Burncycle, there are 3 different corporations that you can choose from. Of those 3 corporations, there are different missions associated with each. Each mission has a different length, ranging from 1 to 3 floors. It also has a different range in complexity. This complexity often refers to mechanics being fairly straightforward in complexity 1, while in complexity 3, these mechanics and other different things may happen that provide exceptions and twists to your gameplay. This adds another fun element here because each of the corporation's missions are unique to the theme and feel. Once you've selected your mission, reference the mission card to better understand your objective and any special rules or special setups that come into effect during your gameplay. For the purpose of this video, we will be showcasing a 2-player game of Ocularity Operation Dial-Up. So using your corporation and the mission card that you've chosen, you'll be able to figure out how your floors will be set up. And you'll follow the mission card for any additional instructions where chips may need to be placed and tokens may need to be present. You'll then finish by setting up the network mat. You'll look for the corresponding corporation's CEO chip and place it in the center of the network. You'll then place the threat card to the left of the network with the red beads marking the current threat level and highest event of escalation you've gone through. The red CEO die along with the 4 red pings will be placed on the network mat. You'll effectively be trying to work towards infiltrating this network mat. You'll do this while being pursued by the CEO's red pings.
Now let's talk about player setup. You'll first choose your agent. You'll take a look at the bot card, bot chip, and awareness chips matching your agent and place them together near the mat. Now some bots may reference a unique setup, such as EXE, who starts the game with bone equipment, Kung Fu Knower, and the installed mod, Cannon Arm, in his inventory. You'll place your IP peg and network level die matching your color on the network mat and draw an imperative card. Imperative cards are unique limitations or conditions that apply to your agent. When conditions of your imperative are met, you'll gain bonus displayed on that card. You'll now collectively choose a bot for your command module. You'll place their chips nearby and insert pegs into the holes of each Burncycle slot with a green icon on the command module's card, as well as a peg for the power matching its current power level. The command module is the heart of the game. It houses the command plans for your mission and the programming for your team's Burncycle. It doesn't take any turns on its own, and it relies on players to divide their movement and actions to support it. If at any point the command module is to be shut down, the game is lost immediately. Now each agent will start with 10 power, and will need to spend power to reach at or below the power bank limit before the game starts. There are multiple ways to spend power. Let's go over them. You can upgrade your dice. You'll start with a blue dice equal to your current power level, but if you spend 2 power, you can obtain an advanced die upgrade, or an elite die if you spend 4 power or 2 power and sacrifice a current advanced die. These will help you in your actions during your turn. You do, however, have a limit of how many of each you can have, as shown here. As well, you can route power to upgrade your agent abilities, which are unique to each bot, giving them certain advantages when progressing throughout the game. Now, if you're playing a 2 or 1 player game, you'll receive additional reserve allotments for free. 1 allotment upgrade of your choice each for a 2 player game, and all 3 allotment upgrades for a solo game. Otherwise, you can route 2 power to upgrade your reserve allotment, allowing you to obtain more chips to support the Burncycle. You can obtain universal abilities as well by routing 1 power to each of them. These can help you throughout the game in various capacities. Swapping, for example, allows you to swap spaces with other bots as you move. Pushing allows you to spend an additional action point to the one spent to move to push a security unit to an adjacent space, as well as move into the space they were in. Repair, as a general action, can help transfer power from one bot to another, which often would be beneficial, especially if bots are shut down. You can also collectively upgrade the command module. This can include universal abilities like we've discussed, or adding Burncycle slots. Now you'll route power until you're at or below your power bank limit. And now that we've all routed power, let's set up the Burncycle. You'll place the captain chip along with enough general chips in the draw bag so the total number matches the Burncycle slots, and randomly draw them to fill the Burncycle. You'll place the red bead here to act as the Burncycle tracker. As previously mentioned, the Burncycle is a method you've discovered to still commit actions that have agency while following the code restrictions that evil corporations have set out in place. You'll have various slots corresponding to the actions you can take on your turn, but the Burncycle will degrade every turn, meaning those actions will become inaccessible unless they're replaced. Let's talk about your reserve allotment. Each agent will have chips within the reserve that can contribute to the Burncycle. This is what we discussed earlier, where you can route power to obtain more chips to contribute. On top of that, there'll also be a team reserve. For each starting space with a bot on it that contains an action icon, a matching chip will be collected in the team's reserve. Now once you routed all the power and set up your agents and command modules, you're ready to begin the game of Burncycle. Now for a quick tidbit of terminology, agents refers to bots which each player has control over. This term excludes the command module. The command module is a bot, but not an agent, and as mentioned earlier, the crucial part of your team. Often the command module will have a special role to play in each of the missions. Now you'll be faced with security units, which is composed of guards and a captain, which is usually found on the highest floor. This terminology will be helpful throughout the game as resolving various cards and abilities. The floor mat has many features. You'll start on the outdoor spaces depicted here and move through various rooms and hallway spaces. You'll find safe zones outlined in yellow. This will be important when completing and switching floors. Hiding spots are a helpful way in evading security units, and doors will need to be unlocked as most of them will have a keypad. And of course, there's a variety of chips present as well. They include caches, which help you claim equipment to enhance your character, terminals which provide various bonuses, and guards which will attempt to stop you from completing your mission.
Now let's take a look at what players will do on their turn. Now a reminder that every player will get 1 turn before the corporation takes their turn, and that's considered a round. Each turn you'll follow the following steps in order. You'll route power, you'll build your dice pool, take actions, navigate the network, route power again, and then degrade the Burncycle. Let's start with routing power. As you've done in the setup, you can utilize the power you have to make various upgrades. This is important if you've required any power from mission progressions or simply must utilize it in order to fulfill your objective that turn. Now keep in mind that power is a rare commodity that you won't be recharging every turn, and you'll rarely acquire power throughout the game, so be careful when you choose to use it. Let's build your dice pool. You'll begin by collecting your basic dice. Now that'll be equal to your current power. You'll also collect any advanced and elite dice based on the spots that are current in your upgrades. These dice will be used in your actions moving forward. There are many actions that you can take throughout the game in order to ensure your team is successful through the mission. You'll utilize the burn cycle every turn in order to complete those actions. Here we have 3 active slots, which means that we're able to use 3 different actions. You'll notice that chips here are general chips and a captain chip. General chips provide no additional effect. However, prior to taking the action in the space with a captain chip, you'll resolve the burn cycle action listed on the captain's card here. For example, Crucible will move each security unit 1 space in the direction that they currently face. Now as the game progresses, you may replace these chips with action chips associated with various actions: physical, utility, and tech. You're not limited to taking those specific actions represented on the chips. However, if you do take the matching action, you'll be able to optimize your move. Let's take a look at physical actions. Now there are 2 specific things that you can do here: move or strike. In each instance, if you optimize this action, you'll be able to increase your moving or your striking by 2 action points. This is a good time to mention the effects of rolling your dice. Now you'll receive action points based on the value that your dice is currently showing. If at any point your dice show blanks, you can combine 2 blanks to create 1 action point for yourself, or you can remove those blanks and put them back into your dice pool for later use. For moving, what you'll do is you'll select action dice that you'll want to commit to your action. You'll roll them and move up to that many spaces that you have action points. An important reminder here is that you can't move through walls, and you will have to unlock doors in order to get into the buildings. Doors in general start locked and can't be moved through unless they're unlocked. You can also split your movement between your agent and the command module bot, because they do not have their own turn, and you'll have to rely on yourself and the rest of your team to support their actions. This brings us to striking. Now there are 2 things that you can strike: a wall or an enemy. Walls have a durability of 10, so it'll take 10 action points in a single action to make a hole through the wall, which you can enter to. If you're successful, you'll place what's called a destroyed wall chip, and you'll be able to use the hole as if it was an unlocked door. When you successfully break through a wall, you'll have an option to take a free move to the other side of the destroyed wall. The other thing with breaking through a wall is that it does make a lot of noise. So you'll have to place the boss awareness chip on the space where the wall destruction happened. This will alert the guards. The max number of holes in the wall is 3 on each of the floors, so you can't make more than that. I mean, let's be honest, you don't want to ruin the integral structure of the floor. Alternatively, you can strike an enemy. Striking an enemy takes a look at the guard's durability, which is often based on the level of the guard. Striking guards will prompt a detection if you haven't already been detected. Threat will then be advanced by 1 regardless of the outcome of your strike, and if you're successful in taking out the security unit, you'll shut it down, removing the chip from the board. You'll gain 1 power, and if that unit had a key, you'll place it into your inventory. If you are unsuccessful with striking an enemy, but you do manage to deal AP within 5 of its durability, you've stunned it until the end of the round. Flip its chip over so that you know that it's stunned, and this will allow you to also take the key from it if it had one. Now, there's an important concept that we've brought up. It's called awareness. So let's talk about that for a minute. Awareness represents whether the corporation is alerted to a bot's presence. This is often done through security units. Each security unit has an awareness range shown on their chip. This number indicates the number of spaces they can see in the direction that they're facing. Alternatively, they have something called peripheral awareness, which is the number of spaces that they can see around them but not in front. This is equal to half of the current awareness value. You'll be able to measure this by counting the spaces to the players. If at any point you're in the awareness zone of any of the guards, you'll place your awareness chip down in the last known spot that they would have been able to see you. The other important thing to note about awareness is that security units may only see in their own area. So, for example, if they're in a hallway, they can't see into various rooms. The exception here is that if a bot moves from a hallway into the room, the security unit's awareness will allow it to know that it's in the first space within that room. Hiding spots will also work in a similar fashion. If a bot entered well within the security's awareness, the bot is not successfully hidden. Bots can also become detected by triggering alarms on locked doors, getting booted from the network, striking or pushing security units, or by other in-game effects. In this case, awareness chips will be placed underneath this bot in its current location. Awareness will affect how security units move on their turn, which we will talk about later. That wraps up the physical actions you're able to take. Now let's talk about the utility action. This is called the keypad action. You'll use this action to open doors, and you can do so by accessing the keypad. You'll draw a keypad card and work your way through unlocking the doors based on the floor you are on. Now, if this action is optimized, you can choose to ignore any one input on your keyboard. Icons on these keypads include rolling the keypad dice for variability of the actions, utilizing specific chips by either discarding them or moving them to a chip within the Burncycle, becoming detected, adding a ping to the core of the network, or getting shocked and losing 1 power. So let's take a look at this example. If you want to get through this door, you'll need to use up a physical action, either in the Burncycle or in your storage or the public command module storage. Alternatively, you can use brute force to open the door by selecting and rolling dice to match or exceed the durability at the bottom of this card. So in this example, 4 action points. In some instances, you'll notice that some doors have a jam. That means you're unable to use brute force to open them, and you'll have to successfully do the actions above. Now we can talk about what entering a room looks like. If you enter a room with a surveillance bead, which is essentially a room that has not been entered in yet, you'll remove the surveillance bead and check the room for how many surveillance dice need to be rolled. You'll roll them and resolve the actions depicted on the dice, which can range from adding additional guard units to obtaining power for your own bots. Now that's the only utility action. We'll talk about tech actions next. This includes terminal and network card actions. If you're on top of a terminal chip, you can draw a terminal card, which can often provide you numerous benefits to help in your mission. You'll choose one of the options on the card and roll for an AP check. If you succeed, you can carry out the effects stated on your chosen option or options. You'll then discard the terminal card and chip regardless of the outcome. The other tech action you'll take is obtaining a network card. Now, if this action is optimized, you can take an unoptimized action along with picking up the card. This includes any of the actions that we've previously discussed and we'll talk about later on. We'll talk about what these network cards mean shortly when we look at the network map. There are also a few general actions that you may take during your turn. This includes repairing, which is effectively routing power from one bot to another as long as you have the ability available. You're also able to perform any of these free actions. These don't require the use of the Burncycle and can be taken at any time during your turn. The only restriction is that you can't interrupt another action with a free action. These actions include trading, which allows you to pass equipment, mods, keys, and other various things to adjacent bots on the floor. You can also do something called altering the Burncycle. This is how you can add chips to the Burncycle, replacing degraded chips. Now, you can replace active chips, but if the chip is a captain chip, the threat will be moved up by 2.
And that's the general overview of the actions that you can take. Following the action step, you'll navigate the network. You'll reset the Burncycle marker and take the same actions now in the network. If the captain's chip is active, you will not need to take the captain's action during the network step. The network essentially is a digital battle between you and the corporation. Your IP will work to infiltrate the center of the network, while the CEO will send out pings to locate, infiltrate, and eliminate you. The network has many benefits which are collected through hubs and various nodes paired with the network cards you've collected, but you'll have to navigate carefully so you can avoid or defeat the ping set out by the CEO. Let's look at how the movement works. Again, you'll follow the Burncycle and move in accordance. You'll always move clockwise in the network. You can also transfer layers, but only once per movement. If you're on a general or a captain chip, you'll only move once. However, if you're on a physical, tech, or utility chip, you'll move until it lands on a node matching that action type of chip, a hub, or a node occupied by a ping. If your paths cross with a ping, you'll compare your network level. If the CEO's network level is higher or tied, you'll be booted back to your access point. The CEO's network level die will decrease by 1 and your agent will be detected. If your network level is higher, or at 6, the ping will be removed from the network. Your agent's IP will occupy the node the ping was on, and your network level will decrease by 1 as well. You'll then resolve the node. If you land on a hub, you'll gain the benefit of corresponding to the layer that you are on. Layer 1 will increase your network level by 1, Layer 2 will reduce the threat by 1, Layer 3 will allow you to gain 1 power, and the 4th layer will activate all of the benefits and shift your IP back to its access point. Landing on action nodes does not grant benefits. However, this is where network cards come into play. If you land on a node corresponding to your network card, you'll gain the benefit of the network card and then discard it. Regardless, you'll discard all the network cards at the end of the network step. And that's your network churn. We'll chat about pings and CEO's movement when we talk about the corporation's churn. Now, the next step of your movement is routing power again. If you gain power throughout your turns, this is an opportunity to route it to support your bot and mission and remain at or below your capacity. If you end your turn above your power limit, you'll lose that excess power, so might as well spend it. At the end of your turn, you'll degrade the Burncycle. You'll roll the Burncycle dice and, depending on the outcome, degrade one of the chips. A question mark will allow you to pick which chip you want to degrade, while a number will correspond to a specific slot. If the chip slot is inactive or degraded already, you'll simply move on to the next, with slot 1 following slot 5. The degraded space is no longer an action you can take. Now, as a reminder, as a free action, you can always replace a degraded chip with one from your or your team's reserve. Each of the players will take a turn, and now it's the corporation's turn.
Their turn consists of 3 steps, performed in this particular order: security unit activation, ping activation, and threat advancement. Within the security activation, there are 3 priority levels to follow: pursue, investigate, or patrol. Once a security unit has completed any of these actions, flip over their chip and proceed to the next unit. For each of the priorities, if multiple security units are to move, you as a team get to decide how they move. The first priority is for security units to pursue. Pursue means that security units will utilize their movement to get as close as possible to a detected bot. This happens if your detected bot is on the same spot as its awareness chip, and in range of the awareness of the particular security unit. If the security unit ends its movement adjacent to a bot, the unit will attack, leading to your bot losing power equal to the level of the security unit. Now, multiple security units may pursue the same bot. You'll continue the pursue with other security units who are in the awareness range of any detected bot. Once each security unit has resolved the pursue step, flip over your awareness chip to signify that it has been resolved. The second priority action is investigate. If your bot is no longer within the awareness of your security unit, it will instead investigate towards the awareness chip. Investigating will lead the security unit to move towards the awareness chip of your bot. Once it reaches the chip, both the chips will be flipped over to signify that the investigation has occurred. It's important to note that with investigation, that it can only happen once per awareness chip, meaning that only one security unit will conduct an investigation per awareness chip. The last priority is to patrol. Now, if nothing suspicious has happened around the security unit and all awareness chips have been pursued or investigated, the security units will choose to patrol. This means that they'll move depending on the movement and patrol indicated by the icon on the security unit's chip. If at any time while patrolling the security unit moves adjacent to a bot during its movement, it will actually end up attacking the bot, causing them to lose power based on the level of the security unit. As another note, it's important to know that guards located in rooms do not perform the patrol action. Generally, when moving, the security units will always take the shortest route and move based on the value of their chip. In any instance, when tied for the movement, players will get to choose how the security units move. While moving, security units may become aware of bots around them, but they will not shift their move trajectory until the following turns. The second step of the corporation's turn is the ping activation. In this step, each ping on the network will be activated. Pings are activated from the outside layer working inwards, and if there are multiple pings on the same layer, then the one that has the most spaces between it and the next ping clockwise to it will activate first. When a ping is activated, it moves until one of the following happens. It lands on an IP, it lands on a hub, it's moved 3 nodes, or it lands on another ping. If it would have landed on another ping, take it a step back and place it before the node where the ping is. Now, if it lands on an IP, it resolves as it would if an IP landed on it. Compare the network dice and resolve it accordingly. If there are no pings in the network, the CEO adds a ping to the core, but it doesn't move. You'll then roll the ping die a number of times equal to the number of hubs occupied by pings. Resolve each roll accordingly. The ping dice have various actions that advance threat, increase CEO's network levels, add additional pings, and transfer pings to outer layers. If no hubs are occupied by pings, the die is not rolled, and instead any pings that can transfer out do so. Now, if any pings reach layer 1 and move onto or past the node that connects your IP's access point, and your IP is currently not present, your IP is then banned from the network. You'll remove your network die and IP from the network and skip the network step on your turn. You can restore your connection once the Burncycle is rebooted. Last, but certainly not least, you'll advance the threat. Advancing threat is the third and final action of the corporation. You will advance threat by the number of players in the game, making sure to trigger any events or escalations hit or passed during this phase. You can use your red bead to track which events and escalations have been activated, as they'll only be activated once throughout the game.
Once the threat is advanced, the corporation's turn is completed. You continue on to your next turn, working towards completing your mission. Now, if you've completed the objective of the floor, you'll need to move to the safe zones in order to advance to the next floor. Once every bot is in the safe zone, the floor is completed and you can set up the next floor accordingly. Each agent will draw an imperative card if they do not currently have one, and be able to take a turn prior to the corporation, with a new first player being the player to the left of the player who triggered the completion of the floor. Now, there's one more important element that we haven't talked about yet, and that is rebooting the Burncycle. If you ever run out of chips in the reserve or wish to reboot the Burncycle, as it may be favorable to do so in your current state, you may do so before the start of any player's turn. Typically, this is done as infrequently as possible, and you'll see why shortly. Well, let's talk about the steps. First, you'll return all the action chips and all the remaining reserves to the supply. You'll proceed to create the Burncycle just as in setup. Place the captain chip along with the general action chips matching the amount of slots you have, and then randomly draw them, filling each of the slots. You'll then take any chips from your reserve allotment to make your reserve. For each room that contains at least one bot, place the room's reserve allotment into the team's reserve. If you're outside again on a space with an action icon, you can also add that chip as well as you did at the start of the game. Now, if a room has multiple bots, it's important to note only one chip will be added based on what the room's reserve allotment is. You'll then advance threat based on your player count. Now, if any IPs have been banned from the network, this is the time to return them, set up as they were at the start of the game. You'll continue playing until you won by completing the last floor's objective, or lost by either having your command module shut down, all your agents shut down, or the threat advanced to the very last space. And that's Burncycle. Now, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or if anything caught your eye, make sure to comment down below. We're happy to chat with you and give you any of the clarity that you may need, as well as we'll link any information about the game in our description as well so you can learn more about Burncycle.
Exactly. If you also liked what you saw here, feel free to give us that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button so you can follow along in our board game journey. But until next time, thanks for watching and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.